Hi. It seems like as time continues to march on, a lot of the details about what I do seem to get lost in the shuffle with consumers nowadays. And I had an interesting conversation with someone on the phone yesterday. Granted, I think he was a youngish sort of fella, probably in his mid or late 20s would be my guess. And we were talking about how you can connect up an external audio source to your NuTone intercom system. And I was explaining about the RCA connectors and so on and so on. And he frankly had no idea what I was talking about. And I find it shockingly surprising that there's a large group of people apparently, because that's not the first time that's happened, who don't know what RCA connectors are. So today's video is going to be sort of a fundamental video about audio connectors, not just RCA but other types also that you can use with your NuTone intercom system. All NuTone intercom systems starting in 1957 all the way up through the end about 2010, those are all the real NuTone intercom systems, all have at least one auxiliary input jack where you could plug in an external music source. All of those jacks on all of those intercoms are all RCA connectors. And just to kind of show you, this is a board out of a 3303 master station, and here on the edge of the board are we have three RCA sockets. Two are inputs, one is a line output which could be used to feed a separate amplifier for background music or something like that. I've had people before tell me, well, I tried to plug my phone into the jack and it didn't work. What they were doing was they were plugging a modern size plug into the center of this, and that's not at all how this works. So let's talk about RCA connectors for a second. RCA connectors, surprisingly enough, were designed by the Radio Corporation of America, hence the RCA name. There are male and female connectors, and they were designed in the early 1940s. Yes, they're still in use today. Most of your better high-end audiophile type equipment, high fidelity stereo systems and tube amps and all of that sort of stuff, they still use RCA connectors. RCA connectors were sort of the default standard for, gosh, I guess it was probably close to 70 years. That's what everybody used. And there are lots of different configurations for RCA connectors. So these yellow ones, these are RCA. These are sort of the classic sort of cheapy ones. This is from a NuTone CP90 cassette player. Why they're yellow, I don't know, but they are. And what you have is you have a shield and a signal pin in the middle and some kind of molded plastic housing. This is obviously a fairly inexpensive one. And then you can move on up to these. See, they come in a zillion configurations. These are some of the ones I like. These are the ones that we use when we make up our external audio jacks. These come from Radio Shack, and we use these because these are actually really good cables for the money. There's actually a lot of copper inside, which is what matters, but you have the same basic plug configuration at this end. Again, they're male plugs, and you've got the ground shield down in there, which you can sort of see, and then you've got the signal pin in the middle, and then you can move into fancier ones like this one. This is a nice orange colored one, and of course it's got the wanky gold plating on the connections because, you know, you really need that. But you can see in this one, you've got the shield is much more obvious. It's a little taller, and then you've got the signal pin in the middle. And this has a fairly heavy, sort of really super flexible, probably silicone coated cable. Just because the cable's thick doesn't mean there's more copper in it. Trust me, if you cut these apart, sometimes you'd be shocked at how few strands of copper there is in some of these. Here's a good example. This is an RCA, this is a Y connector or a stereo to mono cable adapter, and you've got a male end at this end, and you've got two female ends on this end. They're all color coded. A lot of these better cables, these are all what are called, they come from Amazon, they're called Amazon Essentials. They're good quality cables without going nuts and spending tons of money on them. They're reasonably priced. There's a zillion of them, different kinds to pick from. It's a good, easy choice. Plus, you can get them in 2 days with free shipping, and everybody likes that. In the world of high fidelity audiophile type people, there are companies out there that make specially designed RCA interconnect cables that are made on top of volcanoes out of oxygen-free copper. There are companies that sell these that you can spend $200 or $300 a foot for cables like that. And of course, when you spend that much money on a cable, you know it's going to sound better. For your NuTone Intercom Music System applications, you don't need to be buying anything that expensive. Something like this is fine. The gold ends just make you feel better. I don't think when you buy them from Amazon they really cost that much more, but the gold ends aren't really entirely necessary. So those are RCA cables and RCA connectors, the default standard for the world of audio up until maybe the last 10 or 12 years. Nowadays, everything has gone to something different. Here we have the modern day equivalent of the old-fashioned RCA connector. This is a 1/8 inch, or also referred to as a 3.5 millimeter male stereo plug connector. And this is what everything uses nowadays. This is what the headphones on you plug into your phone work on. It's the cable that connects your Amazon Echo to a stereo system thing. If you're connecting your phone to some Bluetooth speakers and you're doing it with a cable, this is what everybody uses nowadays. It's a good design. It's just sort of the default standard. And that one fella that said he was trying to plug something into the jack and it didn't work, what he was doing is taking a cable like this with this size plug, and he was trying to plug it into the center of the RCA socket like this, and that doesn't work. So what you have on here, since this is a stereo connector, if you look carefully, you'll see that you have the tip, and then there's a black band, and then there's another connection here, and another black band, and then the gold connection below it. So this is actually 3 separate connections. Because it's stereo, you've got right, left, and a common ground. And because this is a stereo cable, at this end, we have 2 old school RCA male plugs. So why is it made this way? Why isn't it an 1/8 inch on each end? Well, you can buy them 1/8 inch on each end, and that's your phone to speakers or some other device like that, your Amazon Echo Dot into a amplifier or a sound bar or something like that. But in this type of cable, this is what you would use if you were connecting your phone to a stereo receiver or a stereo amplifier or something like that was more old school, and it had RCA connectors on it. So it's a 1/8 inch or 3.5 millimeter stereo male plug to 2 RCA male connectors. One channel's right, one channel's left, and that's your stereo. At this point, you're probably wondering, well, that's all great. Now I know way more about RCA connectors than I ever wanted to for my entire life. And why do I care? Well, you care because if you're going to connect your phone, for instance, or something to your intercom system, you're going to need to use a variety of different cables. And actually what I'm going to show you, this is the old school way of doing it. Back when I first started, back in the 80s, when you used to knock out the knockout and the bottom edge of the customer's intercom system, and that would give a spot for the cable to dangle through, and the cable would dangle on the wall, and the lady could plug her cassette player into it, and everybody was happy. That doesn't work so much today because it's too messy, but there's something you have to consider. And we're going to use a phone as an example because that's what's easiest, because that's what most people have. Whether it's a phone or some kind of Bluetooth device or satellite radio or an Amazon Echo Dot or something like that, those are all stereo devices. Stereo, again, is right and left channels. Stereo, 2 speakers in every room. Your intercom system, except for a very rare group of them, are all monaural systems. Monaural means that it's 1 speaker in each room, and the right and left channels have been merged into a single channel. Because if you plug in only, if you use a cable like this and you only plug in 1, you're only getting half the sound. You're getting the right channel, but you're not really getting the left channel. And if you plug it in this way, you're getting the left channel, but not getting the right channel. And when you listen to Bruce Springsteen, it sounds really weird, and you don't want that. You want everything. So, since your source device, your phone or your dot or your satellite radio or whatever it is stereo, you need a cable like this to start with, but then you have to merge the right and left into a single channel, and that's where our adapter comes in. This is a stereo to mono cable adapter. You can also use it the other way around for other things, but in this case, that's what it is. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your stereo male plugs. You've got silver and red, and you're going to plug them into the silver and red on the Y adapter like this. And now the stereo signal comes out of your phone, it comes into these, it goes into those, it goes through the cable, it goes through this little intersection right here, and it comes out the other end as right and left together into a mono signal. And this is what you plug into the socket on your intercom system like that. Now you get both right and left channels of Bruce Springsteen and his new song that just came out today, and you're not missing out on any of those important nuances, and you're still trying to figure out what he's saying because it's really hard to understand sometimes. Anyway, so this is how it was done in the old days. And again, this isn't done that much that way anymore because it's kind of messy. You got all these cables and everything flopping around, and it's kind of a mess. And you would think, well, there must be an easier way to do it, and actually there is. Now, if you have to plug into your intercom with some kind of external cable, wouldn't it be nice if you could get by with just one single cable instead of a whole bunch of bulky cables and Y adapters, and it makes kind of a big tangle and it's kind of a mess. So this is our orange colored Amazon Essential RCA cable. This is a mono cable. It's only one signal through. It's not right and left. But you want to plug this into your intercom, but also you want to plug it into your phone. And you can't plug an RCA connector into your phone because it's too big. And also, remember, your phone is stereo and this is and you need mono. So how are you going to do that? Well, we just showed you how to do it with a big fancy Y adapter, which is a big mess. But I did some searching around, and this is all because I'm trying to help a customer out, and I found this. This is an 1/8 inch male, also remember 3.5 millimeter, to mono RCA output female connector. So this little piece right here, which is about 1.5 inches long, takes the place of this thing. And these aren't even that expensive. So how does this work? Well, this is really easy. This end gets plugged into your phone, into your Echo Dot, into your satellite radio, your portable CD player, whatever it is you want to plug it into. And then you take your fancy Amazon orange cable and it plugs in like that. Now you've got stereo 1/8 inch jack into a Y adapter into a single cable that the other end comes out a mono signal, and that mono signal can be plugged into your intercom system like that. So that's a cool way to do it. I'm doing this, there's going to be another video on this topic for a specific customer to show how to do this, because he has a system that requires some special consideration when it comes to audio cables. Adding an external audio jack is really the easiest way to do this, but if you need a cable out in the open, this is another way to go. Now remember, these are RCA connectors. Let's not forget, let's not ignore the old-fashioned RCA connectors because they're still around, they're still used. If you looked on the back of a surround sound amplifier before the days that everything was HDMI, you've got scores of RCA connectors everywhere because that's what everybody used. They're reliable, they're long-lasting, they're fairly trouble-free, and cables for everything nowadays are so incredibly inexpensive that it doesn't really matter. I'm going to put down in this video's description down there all of the part numbers or the product numbers for all of these type of cables, including this little adapter right here, this piece that's really super cool, and that way you can buy them, you can order them on Amazon. If you're going to buy something like this, they're not really expensive. I think it was like $4 or something. Because it's small, buy several because you're going to lose it. And then when you look for it, you won't be able to find it. It'll be on the end of some cable that your kid took and he's plugged it into his PlayStation, and then you're out of luck. So buy several of them because I just have a feeling they're going to get lost. I hope you found this interesting, and perhaps for some of you it will be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.